what publishers don't know about book selling is the question.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, it is like huge,
Booksellers also know that it does matter when they bring in 2 or 3 copies of a book. It really matters to the author and it really matters to the publisher.
I think it's, how to get the bookseller to represent the small presses as well as they do the big 5.
This is a really hard question.
Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Ellie Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we returned to the Pacific Northwest Booksellers Association Fall Regional Show to talk to publishers and booksellers about their ideas about how publishers and booksellers, see what I did there, could collaborate better together.
Ooh. We asked this question when we interview booksellers for our Bookstore Solidarity project, and I love the answers. I absolutely love it. Everyone has such insights into this.
And everybody feels misunderstood. I think everybody feels like nobody else understands how difficult their job is. That's sort of the prevailing response.
I know, it's such a scarcity economy where instead of seeing that everybody else is as economically straightened as we are, it's easy for us to be like, oh, they're getting such a great deal from us at our expense.
Right.
But in fact, there should be more to go around. What's going on? What is something that you wish more booksellers knew about publishing?
Well, I think a lot of booksellers know how hard it is, but that would be my answer. It's really hard.
I remember pre-working for Copperfields, I would send promotion after promotion. I was like, why won't they do the promotion? And then I work in the bookstore, I'm like, oh my God, they're beleaguered, they have no time, there's books everywhere. It's like, oh my God, okay, I totally get it.
But each time a bookstore takes one of our books onto their shelves and takes a chance on one of our authors is a really important thing for us. We care. We love it.
I think so much of what indie bookstores want to do is we want to support these authors, but it's not a lot of money. And, maybe, I had one publisher who was actually really great, and they're like, oh yeah, if you get a new account with us, you get a discount. But it's like, I shouldn't only be able to get a discount if I'm new. Maybe, as much as, and I know it's maybe not possible, but I'm like, if I've been a store with you for a year, maybe you throw another discount, maybe just ask people hey, what is hurting right now?
When you say the word indie press, what does that mean? Because for me, I don't do poetry or fiction or romance, books in translation, things that tend to be in that indie pick shelves at a bookstore. I'm gift, impulse.
We appreciate that shelf space so much, and we always teach our authors that generally when a bookstore takes on books, it may be 1 or 2 copies or 3 copies. They're not going to sell 20 copies unless they're doing an event or they're famous.
We have the famous houseplants and their fucked up thoughts. We have just such fun, great books. I've had bookstores that have sold over almost close to 100 copies in one little small bookstore of that book where they put it right in front of center. So how do we talk about signage and driving together?
And so how you work with a bookseller is a dance. It's got to be easy for them.
I think when stores are thriving, then of course they're going to want more books. There's I know people here who are the reps are really great. So many people are really great, but it's just so many things are just not known or talked about, and I feel like there should be more open and honesty about that.
And I try to hire people who've come from book selling.
The wonderful thing about book publishing is that it is getting diverse, and book selling is still getting diverse, but at the same time it's still a very white industry.
Making it clear to the end user, this is a woman-owned press, this is LGBTQAI press, this is a neurodivergent press, this is a BIPOC press, or, how are we doing the work to the end reader that maybe doesn't just mean a book in translation, but it could actually be a cookbook.
I live in Portland, which is not a very diverse city. It's still predominantly white. But I know that, if I bring in books by people of color, they will want to shop with me.
As a consumer, when I walk into a store, I want to know, is this woman-owned? Is this small business? Is this eco-friendly? And how do I do that, right? And so I think that would change the choices that I decide to buy.
I think that also bring in different types of books, different types of authors, and it'll be way more exciting. So I think
booksellers have to commit to those books just like they do the big five. And I think there's just a little bit more, I've been in the business 40 years. I'm 65. And back in the day, it was like, it felt like booksellers committed a little bit more to the books to display, and now it's a little bit more reactive, like we'll wait and see. And I don't want to say anything against booksellers because they're put upon. I mean, it's a tough environment for them too. But somehow I feel like the booksellers that break through, that make those commitments, are going to be the big winners because we're going to all line up behind those booksellers, the small presses.
You should be like, okay, who's in your community and how can we help support your community in that way? Like, I shouldn't have to fight to get books, and authors shouldn't have to fight because their books are being banned.
When we're here at PNBA, there's definitely business to be done, and everybody is rushing off to the next event or they have to go to the next table. But I feel like a lot of the time when there is a disconnect between publishers and booksellers, it's because we are in our own little circles of orbit and we're not actually just being with each other as people and being connected in person in real time helps everything get better.
Do your best to support indie bookstores, especially new indie bookstores. I get it. I get the draw of Amazon. I understand the draw of Amazon. And I don't judge anyone who does shop at Amazon because sometimes it's just not in the budget to shop at any bookstore. And that sucks, and I know that as someone who, owns one. But I think if you can support it, even if you just go in and buy a sticker, or you buy, you just talk to them. Because we love talking about books. And we love, even if we know, don't ask us for, personalized help, and you're like, oh, thanks, I'll get this on Amazon. Because then it's like, well, now you got me fucked up. But if you're like, I really want to support your store, but I don't have a lot of money, can I buy a bookmark? Something like that. We notice that and we encourage that. And that's what's going to keep us going for so many years, because it's like without independent bookstores, people always talk about the idea of a third place and how important that is. And it's like, well, great. Bookstores are that for a lot of people.
As a bookseller, I am more than happy to buy books, not just on Ingram. I buy from people who make zines, I buy from small presses that don't have a distributor. I obviously work with a lot of booksellers who buy our books, so they're not beholden to just using Ingram. But when I'm trying to first initiate that conversation, the number one question I get is your book on Ingram? Which I totally understand. But sometimes it feels like that's maybe the end of the conversation.
Or you could just take a risk on a smaller author or a smaller press. So that would be my collaboration. It would just be telling people what to do.
We always get such good ideas to implement from these.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's true. We can, in fact, work together better with publishers and with booksellers because of ideas shared with us freely.
And so can you write into us with your best ideas and
your worst ideas.
Yeah.
And your best worst ideas.
The best worst ones are actually the best ones.
And usually the best ones are the ones that begin, well, maybe this is a bad idea, but or maybe this wouldn't work, but
we should definitely not do this, but
I'm all ears.
And then we do it and it works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub.
On Twitter at Microcosm.
On Facebook at Microcosm Publishing.
On Instagram at Microcosm_pub.
And here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.
And also of note, you were one of the first 10 guests ever on our podcast.
That is true. I came to your house and sat down. That's incredible.
Wow, that's awesome.
It seems like it was a long time ago, but I guess it wasn't that long ago.
It was pretty through 7, so really that many. Wait, when did you start doing the podcast, Joe?
What's up?
When did you start doing the podcast?
It was 2016.
Wow. It's been a whole era. Okay, so my friend Ryan was telling me he gets served a lot of astrology content on TikTok and he tries to avoid it, but he can't. And he was listening to one that was served to him that was saying that these few weeks are going to, like, September has been really intense for a lot of signs, but it's because we're moving through the last of, like, a bad period that started in late 2007 or early 2008, which I would like to say is when Twitter began.